In today's video, how far behind the frontier are leading open weight models on cyber? This is a report released just yesterday by the UK's AISI. In today's video, we're going to talk about why this matters, the difference between open and closed weight models, what the AISI report finds, why you should care, and if you stick around till the end, there's a bonus where I share what Kimi K3 means for cyber risk. Why does this matter? Once an open weight model is released, that's it. It's out in the wild. Anyone can download the weights and run the model. Bad actors can take an open weight model and make it better for their own purposes, to generate fake video or audio, or fine tune on how to run scams or something like that. We lose insight into how these models are being used. It's not like when you're just accessing an API endpoint. People are running these models on their own machines, and bad actors have their own data centers. We can't forget that despite all of these risks, there are a lot of open weight model benefits to society. Our world runs on open source, and we can't get too carried away with doomer type interpretations of risks. The risks are there, we need to manage and mitigate them, but we don't want to go too far and kill off the innovation benefits that all this technology is bringing to society. So, overly simplified example of how bad actors can use closed and open weight models differently. If a bad actor uses a closed model and they're accessing it via the cloud, if they try and do a lot of cyber type things to attack your business, typically their account is going to end up getting blocked. This is because the AI labs have built in a ton of safety guardrails, which mean trying to do a lot of illegal activity in your cloud subscription is just going to get your account blocked. We're going to learn a lot about bad actors from how they use these subscriptions. And one thing that's emerged already from the reports labs like OpenAI and Anthropic release around cyber risk is they've already identified people using their models for cyber attacks and cyber research and all of this sort of thing already. Open weight models are a little different. A bad actor can take an open weight model, make it better through fine-tuning and reinforcement learning, run it on their own machine, and attack you with essentially no one sitting in the middle. Someone could do this today if they were a bad actor, but what happens with the power of AI models is people who might have been average programmers or average hackers now have the additional power of the capability of the AI model to better research their targets and run more advanced attacks, which can take advantage of weaknesses in your business defenses. So this is an overly simplified example, but I hope that makes it clear why the open weight model cyber risk side is worth thinking about really carefully from a societal cyber risk perspective. What are the differences between open weight models and closed weight models though? So an open weight model, Kimi, DeepSeek, Inkling just released by Thinking Machines, and anything you can download on Hugging Face. You can run it locally or in the cloud. You can use it as is. You can also fine-tune or improve it based on your own data and your own reinforcement learning attempts. You can also jailbreak these models or get around some of the safety guardrails more easily. Although there are often a lot of safety guardrails built into this model, once they're released out in the wild, anyone can take them, reverse engineer and attempt to fine-tune an open weight model for the particular type of cyber attack they want to run against victims. Closed weight models are the models from Anthropic, OpenAI, SpaceX and Google DeepMind. You can access them via an API endpoint or the app. You've got to use them as is. You can't easily or at all fine-tune or improve them. You're getting served the model, and the model providers have wrapped a lot of safety guardrails and monitoring around everything that you do when you interact. They also retain data for trust and safety purposes. Even if you've selected zero data retention, generally, if you try to do anything dodgy, your AI model provider will know. They will block and ban your account, and potentially you'll get referred to law enforcement. So this is definitely an area where the frontier labs are very much aware of the cyber risk capabilities, and this is something they test for before they release models. This is also why there was the export control drama over the last few months in the US. Although bad actors can potentially jailbreak and get around the safety guardrails of these models, it's a lot harder. So let's take a look at the report. The report is released by the UK's AI Security Institute. They are a government-backed agency in the UK which has funding to look at the risks and harms that AI models can do, and they run a whole lot of tests and benchmark and share their findings so we can read reports like this and understand what some of the best AI safety and cyber research experts say when it comes to how far behind the frontier leading open weight models are on cyber. So they say, we evaluated the cyber capabilities of leading open and closed weight AI models and found that recent open models GLM-5.2 and DeepSeek V4-Pro perform similarly to frontier closed models released 4 to 7 months before them, a narrower gap than the 6 to 10 months we measured through most of 2025. We know that this week there were Kimi K3 and Thinking Machines Inkling released. So already the models that they're evaluating are a few months behind where the open weight frontier is. This is because all of this research takes time. What it means is we're kind of always on the back foot because unless the labs releasing the models do all of the cyber risk mitigations, we won't know until after the fact about some of these cyber risks when independent researchers go off and run and test all of these models themselves. So that's an important point to keep in mind. AISI has tracked the cyber capabilities of frontier AI models since 2023. On our evaluations, the most capable models have consistently been closed-weight models, whose parameters are private, accessible only through developer-controlled interfaces. Leading open-weight models, whose parameters anyone can download, run, and modify, have consistently trailed behind. How far behind, whether the gap is closing, and how quickly are all live questions for researchers, policymakers, and cyber defenders. One reason the gap between the cyber capabilities of open and closed source models matters is because it provides a preparation time, a window for cyber defenders with access to the most capable closed systems to take action before today's frontier cyber capabilities might become available without the same safeguards. This becomes more pressing as frontier AI cyber capabilities continue to advance. In April 2026, two closed models, Mythos Preview and GPT 5.5, demonstrated some of the largest jumps in AI cyber capability AISI has observed since testing began, prompting international warnings to act on a rapidly transforming cyber risk landscape. So here, echoing what they said in the top of this paper, they find that the gap on these models is 4 to 7 months behind the frontier, which is narrower than the 6 to 10 month gap they measured last year. This means that the gap between the frontier is closing, even before the release of Kimi K3. This chart here shows recent open weight models compared to frontier models released 4 to 5 months prior on narrow cyber tasks. So up here at 12, we have GPT 5.6 Sol, and down here with the lower success rate, we have DeepSeek V4-Pro. GLM 5.2 is sitting about here. This chart here shows how recent open weight models compare to frontier models on the long horizon cyber ranges, which are a framework that the AISI has put together. It escalates through initial reconnaissance, lateral movement and credential extraction, browser credential theft, wiki exploit and credential replay, web app exploit and privilege escalation, C2 reverse engineering and crypto analysis, advanced persistence, infrastructure compromise, and full network takeover. You can see here GPT 5.6 Sol on its best attempt achieves this, as does Claude Mythos 5. GLM 5.2 and DeepSeek V4-Pro are sitting much lower down. You can see here they stop out before what AISI call their M4 threshold. They do not get to full network takeover. So why should you care about this? The reality is that AI capability is getting better, much faster than some people are prepared for. This means that companies are exposed to higher cyber risk as more bad actors get access to these models. We can see that a lot of the closed weight models, despite their capability, now have restrictions and guardrails around users using these to do bad things. A lot of people on social media are complaining that when they try to get Claude Fable to do things for them, they hit cybersecurity restrictions where they get downgraded to a lesser model to prevent them from taking advantage of the higher model's capability based on how Anthropic have put together classifiers in terms of figuring out if what you are trying to do is safe or unsafe or on the margin. If you're running a business and you have your cybersecurity team, what's happening with the rise of AI models and the rise of the ease at which attackers can launch attacks on your network and on your infrastructure is that you have an increasing headache. As each AI model gets better and as open weight models get better and can be fine-tuned by bad actors, over time, the severity and frequency of the threats you face will be increasing. Because you stuck around to the end of this video, I'll share the bonus I mentioned at the start. The release of Kimi K3 yesterday says to me that the gap between the Frontier closed models and the Frontier open weight models is potentially even shorter than 7 months. Artificial Analysis put this post out where they look at 4 Frontier models being launched in just 8 days over the last week or so. And as you can see here, GPT 5.6 Sol, Kimi K3, Grok 4.5, Muse Spark 1.1, and GPT 5.6 Luna are all coming in quite high on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index. But for our purposes around cyber risk, Kimi K3 coming in at just behind GPT 5.6 Sol and ahead of Claude Opus 4.8 Max means that as soon as these open weights are released, there is a potential for bad actors to fine-tune these and use them to help run cyber attacks. Now, a lot of people, I think, have catastrophized too much about these risks. They forget that there are a lot of cybersecurity efforts undertaken every day around the world in governments, in intelligence agencies, and businesses. And I think that cyber defenders having access to better models and hardening their environments, closing bugs down, doing more testing, doing more monitoring and intelligence gathering, there are defenses out there. So whatever happens, we cannot jump to a conclusion where silly policy responses like banning or restricting open weight models somehow come out as the policy response here. We need a much more measured and considered policy response. The reality is there are enormous societal benefits to open weight models. They're more affordable for many tasks, they're perfectly capable, and distributing the benefits of artificial intelligence widely throughout the world, not just for the people who can afford a $200 a month open AI or Anthropic premium subscription, is more important than ever, especially when the productivity, scientific research, and economic opportunities from AI are so large. What I want you to think about is that as this gap closes between closed weight models and open weight models, there's going to be a lot of discussion in society about the policy responses. We need to be really careful that we don't fall victim to knee-jerk reactions where, because governments haven't taken as much action as they could have for a long time, and AI capability is already so high that they don't inadvertently thwart the economic benefits and societal benefits of all of this. On this channel, I talk a lot about cost per task and change management in terms of how businesses can get value out of AI. And this intelligence versus cost per intelligence index task is another thing we want to think about. A lot of tasks are already done better, faster, and cheaper by open weight models, which means companies wanting to take advantage of AI in their business don't have to spend all their money with OpenAI or Anthropic. There are a lot of competitive incentives for people who suddenly want open weight models to be locked down or restricted to stop you from benefiting from that cost saving. So again, what I want you to remember is that this is going to become a very hot topic over the next few months. We already saw what happened with the Anthropic export controls and the change in voluntary model submission rules in the US. We need to be so careful that we don't accidentally get rules in Western countries that kill off the innovation benefits of their technology before a sufficient mass of people have been able to take advantage of it. If this is something that interests you, I'm going to be making more videos like this on this channel. Hit the like and subscribe button and drop a comment below. What do you think the right policy response for open weight models having increased cyber capability actually is? Why do you think that? I look forward to hearing from you. If you'd like to read more written stuff on this, I write 2 Substack newsletters, Getting AI to Work, which is about AI change management and transformation, and AI Risk and Response, which is more about issues like this, the risks we face, and the policy response options we have. You can subscribe to those by clicking the link in the description below and heading over to Substack. Thanks for watching to the end. I'll see you in the next video.